Hello YouTube, this is Valkyrie D Queen here with a review of Eden Zero. We are going to start out with it is of course Eden Zero, Volume 13, Chapter 108, Nadia, Love of My Life. I have no clue who that is. But we start off basically with a cover page of Rebecca, Shiki, and Happy hanging at the beach. And then we go straight back to the ancient water temple that we're at. And they start out with debating, oh, is that mother? Is it not? I can't really see a clear image because they're quite a ways from the temple. And Pino enhances it and brings it up, and it does really look like the hologram image of mother that is back at the guild, on Blue Garden. And then they're debating what they should do with the dead of the bones. Should they bury it? Should they not leave it alone? Some people are for burying it, such as Homura, and of course Pino, and even a little bit of Rebecca and Shiki are on board with that. But it seems like Wise is not. And then they also mention, oh, let's go explore the city. What should we do? Explore the city or deal with these bones? And Rebecca's leaning in, looking at not the bones, but the ship front of where the bones should be navigating and looking towards, and how you navigate the ship. And she notices some written letters above the navigation. Nadia, love of my life. So this is where the name of the chapter comes from, and that is very interesting. So who is this Nadia? How is this person related to this Nadia? How long ago was this Nadia even alive, or even if he was alive? So they go, basically the dead body of bones, where it is in the ship, and they go explore the ancient underwater city. There's a lot of fish going around. They also notice that a bunch of bots that are basically laying on the ground everywhere. And Rebecca even comments, it's just like, before she says Grambel, she covers her mouth, realizing her mistake of trying to say that it's just like Grambel with Shiki there. And they're wondering what is happening. Shiki having a flashback to what happened to Grambel with his robot friends. And then suddenly a tentacle pops up. I know this is underneath the sea, so of course there's going to be a tentacle monster. Why not? So there is. They decide to go to the temple, but this tentacle monster pops up, and everyone's all shocked. Ah, sea people! It's an octopus, you dot! Instead of sea people. And they grab Pino first. And then they pop up more tentacles. And they're rumbling around. People are saying, oh no! Pino, you gross tentacles! Homura has her sword out. And Shiki goes for an attack. Shiki goes for a gravity attack, but he misses his target, which is a little bit understanding because gravity in water can be a little different because it is different. Because you're already almost weightless within the water. You can swim around and move around like you could zero gravity. Not as much as like zero gravity, but it is very similar. And they call it bouncy because of the bounciness, the buoyancy. And they're like, what? That name? And they're like, oh my gosh, underwater. Rebecca gets grabbed and Happy as well. And Wise is all for this and shows his perverted side. And he's like, yes! And then Homura is ready to attack with her sword, but she also gets grabbed, and so does Wise. And Homura gets grabbed so she can't use her ether gear because she's tied up. And it's gripping, the tentacle's grip is abnormal pressure onto Pino's armor, and she mentions that. We're about to be eaten. It's going to eat us. People are yelling, screaming, panicking all over. And the Wise makes this comment, and it's mostly basically a comment to hey, save the kinky moves for Rebecca instead of applying it to him. But I'm kind of liking this, even though it's a tentacle monster, and I'm not the biggest fan of those. It is attacking everyone, not just the females. So I am liking that better, because that's how a monster should be. Attacks everyone, not just the females. So they're about to be eaten, and Rebecca also states, I love eating, but I don't like getting eaten. I agree with her. No one likes to get eaten. And then somehow Shiki went all the way up to the surface. And then he's like, well, since gravity's so weird underwater, I'm just going to go really, really heavy, down real fast into the water. So he goes, machine attack, and basically crashes into that tentacle beast before they eat everyone. And the tentacle beast is not having glares. Everyone's still alive, and everyone's saying, run to the temple. So they start running to the temple with this tentacle octopus beast running after them as quickly as possible. It even has hair. It has hair. This tentacle beast has hair. It's got a little dew on the top of its head. It's really strange. So they go to this ancient temple with the symbol of Mother on it. Woo! It looks like they trailed in water, so it looks like it's not underwater. Like, it is underwater, but the inside of it is still breathable air, which is interesting. And the octopus monster leaves them alone, and everyone's looking around. This temple looks ancient, and it has interesting symbols. It has a cross symbol. It has this door, and it has a cross symbol with several different designs on it. And everyone's looking at that, looking at the ancient temple. And this is what Shiki says. Shiki says, I don't know, it's just the ether. It feels familiar somehow. So to Shiki, this ether feels very familiar, and he's not sure why. And Wise makes a crack joke. I know why, because you were born here in Laterian. Wise just makes a joke that he may be born here. That's why it's familiar. But someone's familiar. Everyone's confused about what's so familiar about it, because they don't feel the familiar of it. Only Shiki does. And then they realize they're not underwater. So they're not underwater. There's a barrier somewhere at the door where it keeps the water out and at bay. And then suddenly a slithering tail that looks like a machine tail clanking, and then it says the temple is protected by a special barrier. Someone's explaining that it has a special barrier, and it says, welcome to the temple of the Mother Beacon. So it has something to do with Mother, and it's the Mother Beacon. She looks very interesting. She has part of her hair is down, and then she has two buns wrapped around, and then a crescent moon-like crown on top of her head. She obviously is a robot. There is robot lines like on Witch and Hermit and Sister Ivy on her face. And then, of course, she has this robot-looking tail. And then she says, I am its guardian, Nadia. Okay, so this is Nadia. So the love of my life, Nadia. And Rebecca says, Nadia, the love of my life, because she's the only one that read that and really retained that. So that's going to be an interesting plot point. I wonder. And that is the end of the chapter. So right now we're just curious of why is Nadia the guardian? Why is she a robot? What has her connection to the dead man that is only but bones now outside in that ship that crashed? It says, Nadia, the love of my life. Is it a tragic story where Nadia almost died, but someone turned her into a robot, and the love of her life ended up searching for her, for the rest of his life, and then somehow died in his ship while searching for her, and then ended up at the same exact place where she supposedly is, but is dead. So this is an interesting question at the end of it, an interesting mystery. Who is this Nadia? How did she become the guardian of this temple? And what's her association with, you know, the dead guy in the ship? So please comment down below what you think, who Nadia is and what her connection is to that dead guy in the ship. Like, comment, and subscribe. And peace out, YouTube. Have a wonderful day.